So this is basically a continuation of yesterday's lesson on long division. This is synthetic division, and you should have gone through the notes already, so you realize that there is a lot easier way. And well, I think it is. I have students who would rather do long division, but I would rather do synthetic division than long division any day. Just to kind of go back to yesterday's assignment, there are some of these that we could have used synthetic division with. This is one, because you see this is just x plus 2, this x plus 5. These two we really couldn't have unless we like changed, actually no, we couldn't have with this one, but with the 2x minus 3 we could, but we'd have to use a fraction, which would be really not fun. So those two right there we could have used synthetic division with if we had known how to do it. So let me make this a lot bigger. Okay, so if you remember, the way we start out with this is we just start out with, we look at the factor right here, or what we're trying to check and see if it's a factor. We want to know if x plus 2 is a factor of x squared minus 4x minus 12. But what we want to do is we want to divide by the root. So if the factor is x plus 2, then the root, or the x-intercept, is negative 2. So we want to use that for the synthetic division. So we'll put a negative 2 here, and then our little corner kind of thing. And then we want to just make sure we have all of our terms up here in the dividend. If we don't, we need to put placeholders again. But we're going to list the coefficients horizontally from left to right for the dividend. And the dividend for the x squared term is 1. The dividend for the x term, don't forget, if it's a minus, it's the negative 4. And the constant term is a negative 12. So we just list those horizontally. And then I just put a line down here. We always bring down the first coefficient. So that's always there. And then what we do is we start multiplying this number times whatever's in that place right there, and then we'll do it for the next place, the next place. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. I changed colors. Negative 4 minus, or negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. So I combine those two. Negative 2, then I multiply it times that. Negative 2 times negative 6 is 12. Combine these two, and I get 0. So I always like draw a line right there to keep up with this being my remainder. So this is my remainder. So remainder was 0, which means that x plus 2 is a factor of that dividend. So that's my remainder. This is my constant. This is my x. So I'll just go right to left on that. So my answer is x minus 6 with no remainder. So if I were going to factor this quadratic, yeah, I would get x plus 2 times x minus 6. Those are the two factors for that quadratic. Okay, is x minus 1 a factor of this polynomial right here? And we do need a placeholder here. We don't have an x squared term, so we're going to have a 0 between the 5 and the 3, so we just don't want to forget that. If x minus 1 is the factor, the root is positive 1. So we want to start with a positive 1 here. There's negative 5, positive 5, 0, 3, negative 1. Bring down the first coefficient. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0, 0. 1 times 0, 0. 3 plus 0, 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and negative 1 plus 3 is 2. This is my remainder, my constant, my x squared, and my x cubed. So because I've got 0 for a couple of these terms, I'm not going to write that in the answer. I don't have to do that. I have negative 5x cubed. So that part I have to write, and then plus 3. And then my my remainder is the numerator in my fraction, and x minus 1 is the denominator. So then my conclusion is that x minus 1 is not a factor of that polynomial. Okay. Number 9, let's see, I have a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2. I do not have an x term, so I'll need a 0 between the negative 5 and the negative 2. X plus 4 is my factor, so the root would be negative 4. 2, 5. This is negative 1. Another negative 1, negative 5, 0, and negative 2. Make sure I did that right. 2, 5, negative 1, negative 1, negative 5, 0, negative 2. Okay, bring down the 2. That's going to be negative 8, negative 3. That's going to be 12, 11, negative 44, negative 45. I don't even know. What's 4 times 45? 180. So that's positive 180. That's going to be 175. Huh. 4 times 175. 700. And 4 times 700, that's going to be negative 4 times 700. That would be negative 2,800. I'm going to check my key, make sure I'm right. Okay, I do see one mistake, or a couple of mistakes actually. Let's go back to the 700. This is going to be negative 700 there. And then negative 4 times negative 700 is positive 2,800. So this is going to be 2798. So our answer, this is our remainder, our constant x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th, x to the 5th. Another thing that I probably talked about in the notes video is if you start out with an x to the 6th, your answer is going to start with an x to the 5th. Okay, so here's my answer. 2x to the 5th minus 3x to the 4th plus 11x cubed minus 45x squared plus 175x minus 700 plus 2798 over, I forgot what my original dividend was, x plus 4. I would not have wanted to do that with long division, for sure. All right, the next one, we don't have any placeholders. I want you to try this one. Pause your video, try it. I'm going to work it out, and then I'll come back and see if you got it right. All right, so there weren't any placeholders, but you ended up with a 0x squared term, and so you don't have to put that in the final answer. There's the final answer in purple. If you got it wrong, check your numbers up here in the problem and see what you did wrong. Number 11, let's do the same thing. Let's look and see if there are any placeholders. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, x to the 1st, 3. Nope, there are no placeholders, so pause your video, do this one, and see, and then come back. All right, there you go. So my remainder was negative 315, and that, to be honest with you, when I check problems, that's all I check, because if you got the remainder right, you had to have done the rest of it right. All right, let's do the last one together. We're going to put a negative 2 here, and then we have a negative 6. We have a 0x squared. We have a negative 1x term, and then we have a 0 constant term. So that's a little tricky because you have to remember to put that 0 constant term in there as a placeholder. Ooh, that was bad. Bring down negative 6, that's going to be 12, 12, negative 24, negative 25, 50, 50. Remainder, constant, x squared. So the answer is negative 6x squared plus 12x minus 25 plus 50 over x plus 2. So x plus 2 is not a factor of negative 6x cubed minus x. The only one we had that was a yes, that was a factor, was the first one. Was that the first one? Yeah. So our first one worked out to where there was a 0 remainder. That is the only one that actually was a factor of the dividend.